Nerdly presents the feed where the reels unwind. Off the real podcast, digging deep in the grind. 80 flicks, low cash, big dreams in the frame. No blockbuster hype, just the realest in the game. Review so sharp, we cut.
I can pretty much be swayed into watching a movie based on a few key things. It's a little bit of a checklist, if you will. If the movie does feature some actors that I absolutely love and I seek out because I know I'm going to get good performances, then I will watch that movie. I'm also a bit of a sucker for an Australian drama thriller, and if it's an Australian drama thriller set in a prison, then absolutely I'm going to check that movie out. And then the last thing is that I love me a movie from a first-time director. Now, this guy isn't necessarily a first-time director because he has made a bunch of shorts and he's won a bunch of awards, so I'm not taking any of that away from him. However, this is his feature film debut, so I am all about that. So Chris Williams, it was time for him to come forward. He gave us this movie called Inside, set in a prison, starring Guy Pearce and Cosmo Jarvis, two actors that when they are on the top of their game, there are very few that can compare. Very character driven, very actory, very talky talk dialogue. That's the kind of movie I love, so it was time to sit down and talk about this one. My name is Kevin Halden. This is Nerdly Presents Off the Reel review. I'm talking about the movie Inside. What I will do is I will talk about the plot of the movie with as few spoilers as possible. Then I'll get into what I did and didn't like about the movie. Scratch that, I'll do the cast and crew before that, and then I'll get into my Nerdly Presents Off the Reel review rating, which if you go over to the website, our British awesome entertainment website, nerdly.co.uk, other people may have watched this movie, may have reviewed this movie, and you can see what they thought. But for now, check this video out for my thoughts, my opinions, what I think of this movie. And recently I've been giving you the IMDb plot synopsis first because it does tend to do what it says on the tin. So for this movie, for the movie Inside, transferred from juvenile to adult prison, Mel is taken under the wing of both Shepard, Australia's most despised criminal, and Warren, a soon-to-be-paroled inmate. The paternal triangle that forms between them becomes their undoing. That is pretty much what the movie's about, but let's dive a touch deeper into it. Yes, we meet Mel. Mel is in a juvenile prison, but he's aged out, so he's coming up to a full men's prison now. And we find out a little bit about his crime. It turns out that he has killed someone, so he's in there for murder, so he's not necessarily the nicest guy on the planet. While he's been inside, he's also done some ill shit too, which is kind of added to that. Mel very much feels like there is not a place for him in the world anymore. He's too far gone. And when he comes up to the men's prison, the full men's prison, because he's no longer a juvenile, he meets Shepard. Shepard's his new cellmate. Shepard's played by Cosmo Jarvis, and he is this inmate that Mel doesn't really know much about to begin with, but it turns out he's one of the most despised inmates in all of Australia. Whatever he has done, and we will find out as the movie goes through, it means that the guards hate him, the prisoners hate him, the public hate him, everybody hates Shepard. But Shepard feels like he's turned a bit of a new leaf because he's now come from a maximum security prison to this prison and supposedly, air quotes, has found God. And within doing that, he's trying to spread the word of the Bible, the good book of God, to other inmates. Has Shepard reformed? Is Shepard turned around? I'm not really sure, but Mel takes a little bit of a shine to him and kind of starts helping him spread the word in a way by being part of his sermons. He also meets Warren played by Guy Pearce, and Warren is very much on his last days. He's got parole coming up very soon. He may or may not get it. Right now, he feels like he's not going to get it because, again, he also feels a little bit institutionalized. He feels like there is no redemption for a man like him. And he kind of takes Mel under his wing as well. So here we have Mel, who has two very different opposing opinions, kind of like an angel and a devil on the shoulder. Which one's the angel and which one's the devil? Or are they both the devil? That is completely up to you to decide as you watch this movie. But when we meet Warren, he's kind of got himself into a little bit of bad blood with some of the other inmates. inmates. He owes them a little bit of money, and there's not really many ways that he's going to be able to pay this back, especially in the short time that he may have left. So a deal is kind of struck where if Warren can convince Mel to kill Shepard, then a lot of his debts are going to be written off, but he'll also leave prison with a little bit of cash as well. And it'll also kind of set Mel up as one of these people in prison not to mess with, because he's going to be there for a while. So it's going to set him up a little bit as well. So Warren, while a good enough guy, kind of doing things for a selfish reason, might send Mel down a bit of a dark path, and as the synopsis says, this will become all of their undoing. That's all I want to say about the plot. You can kind of see where we're going to go with that. There's to and fro in. It's a very, very character-driven, very, very dialogue-driven movie. So let's get into the cast and crew. And I'm going to start with our lead character, Vincent Miller, who plays Mel. Obviously, Cosmo Jarvis and Guy Pearce are kind of the names of the movie, but Vincent Miller is absolutely no slouch. He is kicking it with these two guys, no issues whatsoever, putting in a blinding performance. And when you're putting in a good performance that is equal to the likes of Guy Pearce, who in this movie I feel is giving one of the performances of his career, when you can match that as a young upstart, I've not seen Vincent Miller in very many other things, I don't think I have, but in this movie he's more than capable of hanging with Cosmo Jarvis, hanging with Guy Pearce, and his scenes are the scenes that drive the narrative, obviously because he's the main character, but what he's doing, sometimes not saying things, but just doing and looking and emoting, sometimes that is the absolute gold within this movie that you cannot push to the side. Guy Pearce is phenomenal in this movie. I do feel like this is one of Guy Pearce's career-defining moments. I know we see him quite a lot now. He does tend to play the smaller roles. This is very much a supporting role, and he's just giving Vincent Miller or Cosmo Jarvis enough room to run with, but he's also just putting in a hell of a performance. I believed every moment of Guy Pearce in this movie. When he feels like he's doing something right, you feel it with him. When he feels like he's just gone down a dark path, you feel that with him. There is a moment in the movie, I don't really want to do spoilers, but there's a moment in the movie where he goes out into the world, he gets like 1 day's parole and gets to go and meet his son, who's played by Toby Wallace. Toby Wallace, another actor I absolutely adore. And when he goes to meet him, we kind of realize that, yeah, okay, Guy Pearce might have messed his life up, and he's now inside because of that, but the people on the outside, yeah, they are suffering too. Their life got messed up too. So it kind of shows you the path that not just his actions led him down, but also led other people down. It's a sobering moment, but Guy Pearce, my God, does he not nail every inch of this performance. Cosmo Jarvis, another actor. If you haven't seen Calm with Horses, 1,000,000% check out that movie. Cosmo Jarvis and Barry Keoghan. What a movie, and what a pair of performances from a couple of powerhouses. In this movie as Shepard, the sort of criminal who may or may not have found his way, found the light, he's so good. Sinister when he needs to be, awkward when he needs to be, and you never really know what is going through Cosmo Jarvis's head in this movie. He's so good with it, and he's doing this thing with his voice that I just I couldn't wrap my head around what he was doing with it. It didn't sound like him. This voice that is contained and restrained and feels captive and held back, but then you know that when he pops, he's going to pop. And Cosmo Jarvis, yeah, I was so in awe of this performance. Not a character you're supposed to like, so no, I did not like the character, but I loved the performance. And we also have Tammy Macintosh in here, who is another actress, Australian actress that I adore. If you've seen Underbelly, I'm fairly certain she was in a couple of seasons of Underbelly, one of my favourite Australian TV shows, true crime drama. Obviously, it's fanaticised, it's made to be a bit more fantastical, dramatical than it actually was, but it is a true story on Australian crime. She was also in Wentworth, the prison series, when she has her little moments with Guy Pearce, because she mostly acts moments against Guy Pearce. And when she has those little moments, she's more than equal to him, and kind of at times kind of shits on him a little bit, which is so cool to see in a way. So let's talk about what I did and didn't like. And what I love is just the tone of this movie, the style of this movie. It is gritty, it is real, it's everything you would hope from a Australian kind of prison movie. It ticks all the boxes. It doesn't go too dark, too dingy, and too gritty. Stays just this side of it, so that the characters, although they are being horrendous and doing heinous things, you still are kind of rooting for Guy Pearce. You're still rooting for Vincent Miller. There's this through line throughout the movie where they tell Mel at the start of the movie that one of the things you can do for parole, or to show that you are eligible for parole, is that you can write a letter to your victim. And now Vincent's kind of like, sorry, I keep calling him Vincent. Mel is kind of like, well, what's the point? He's dead. I can't say anything to a dead man. And plus, I am who I am. This is who I'm going to be, and there is no rehabilitation for someone like me. He starts to write the letter. I believe it's Warren that kind of convinces him, no, this is actually a good idea. So he starts to write this letter. And there are moments within this movie where we get a little bit of voiceover of Mel reading the letter. And it's telling us Mel's story and how he got to this point. And you begin to realize that actually it's not as black and white as we may think it is. Mel may not be the worst person on the planet, and maybe, just maybe, he deserves some sort of rehabilitation, some sort of second chance. We've seen things like this before, but it's done so well here, and Vincent Miller really, really just sells it. I love the fact that this is a theatrical feature film debut from Charles Williams. I think he's done such a wonderful job with this movie, making me feel things in certain places. He's got the right people in because his cinematography is gorgeous. I don't know what the budget was, but I don't imagine it was a huge budget. So whatever you're doing with what you have to do it right, and you have to smash that out of the park. His cinematography for this movie is absolutely gorgeous. The score for this movie, the theme songs, all of the music throughout this movie slaps when it's supposed to slap. It really does underscore a lot of big moments, but it's never overbearing. It never takes over from what is actually happening, and never once tells me what I'm supposed to be feeling. Lets me feel it, and then I realize that actually, yeah, I was being taken down a path there, and that's how I got to that point. I love all of that. All of it. Casting wise, he couldn't have done a better job. Guy Pearce, Cosmo Jarvis, Toby Wallace, Tammy Macintosh, and especially Vincent Miller. What a role, what a performance Vincent Miller puts in this movie. It's just truly, truly mesmerizing. Much like Cosmo Jarvis as well. There isn't a lot that I didn't like. I suppose I would have liked maybe a little bit more backstory on a couple of our characters. Maybe fleshed out Mark Shepard, fleshed out Cosmo Jarvis's role a tiny little bit. But then I also like the fact that we don't know exactly what he did at the start, and we slowly begin to learn. And I love the fact that we don't really know what Cosmo Jarvis is ever thinking at any one moment, even when he has that moment of clarification and you can see it written all over his face. His actions don't necessarily reflect that. I just think every choice made in this movie was quality. This is a quality film. It's a really, really good film. So let's jump into my final rating. There's no point talking about anything else now. I'm going to give this movie a 5. I am going to give this movie a 5 out of 5. I think this film does a lot of things absolutely right. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect by any stretch. There are a few moments where you sit there and you're kind of like, okay, I see what you're doing, but do we really need to go down that road? There is a moment in the movie that I think absolutely worked on a million levels, but when it first happens, you are a tad confused. It's written that way. It's supposed to be that way. I think the editing doesn't necessarily reflect the writing, if you know what I mean. But then when you get to that point of the logical where it was going and why they were doing it, 100%, you get it, you understand it, it makes total sense. Just for a split second, for maybe 5 seconds, I was kind of sat there going, I don't know if that's telling me what it was supposed to tell me or doing what I think they wanted it to do. However, it does work. It absolutely works. So I'm not going to mark it down for that. This is one of those movies that I will give it the benefit of the doubt on anything that I think it didn't do right, because it did so many things right. It did so many things spot on. So it 100% deserves a 5 out of 5 for me. One of my favorite prison kind of dramas that I've seen in a long time, definitely. And if you've watched this channel, if you've seen other reviews, you know that I love me a prison drama. So this is definitely up there for one of the best. In terms of character work, in terms of what we were getting from our actors, this is going to be a hard one to beat because everybody was on their game. It didn't need all the big action hijinks. It didn't need all the bells and whistles, because from an acting standpoint, they were the bells and whistles. And Guy Pearce, Vincent Miller, brilliant. Their scenes together were sensational. The two of them were so intense, so real, and I loved it. So yeah, it's a 5 out of 5 from me. Please do check out Inside when you get a chance. Come back, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the movie. That's where the conversation will always continue. Let me know if you think I'm right, if you think I'm wrong, why I'm right, why I'm wrong, what you think of the movie. Just continue to do that. In the meantime, if you could also drop me a like, a subscribe, and ding that notification bell, it all helps with the algorithm. We are slowly growing the channel. I'm slowly getting through this, and sometimes it can feel like I'm just kind of bashing my head against the brick wall, but I feel like if I can get one person to watch this movie in particular, my job's done. And that's all I ever aim for, is to win one person over to at least watch this movie. That's my main aim in this game. Please do check out Inside. It's fantastic, and I think you'll love it. I'll be watching anything this crew, this gang, these actors, this director do going forward. I'll 100% be on board. But for now, I'll see you in the next review.